Live here.
All right. Hello, everybody. This is Brent Warner again at Q Live, and we're here with Justin Cottrell at J Cottrell. Can you spell that out for us?
Yep, that's Cottrell. I'm on Twitter. Hit me up. You can also hit me on the Instagram at justin.cottrell. Thanks, Brett.
Awesome. Cool. So, you and I are both presenting on kind of similar topics here, being more equitable with grading. I'm doing an ungrading session tomorrow. You're doing your session on Saturday?
Yeah, my session is called Adventures in Equitable Grading, What I've Tried, What I've Learned.
Awesome. So, my own experience with this has been ups and downs. Like, I've been nervous about trying it. Some things worked really well and some things kind of fell flat, and I had to kind of make adjustments to it. But what does equitable grading mean for you?
Well, it means, trying things out and not knowing how the result's going to be, but you're willing to do whatever it takes to help your students stay in the game. And that's really what it has meant to me. Like, I had a wise colleague tell me a few weeks ago that if something is predictable, then it's not going to land well with your kids. And so for me, that's like, being able to take these structures that have been rooted in so many different things and then being able to blow up those structures in a way and really find ways to connect with your kids, especially your struggling students, right? Because you're taught, like I teach high school, 9th grade freshman students, and they're just starting and they're trying to get used to how you do things, and they're trying to also figure out who they are, and that's my class's health. So it's like, having these things that I've tried this year, and I can't wait to share them with folks that are able to be here on Saturday, or either through Zoom or in person. I think that the ideas are worth exploring. Do I feel like I can say, hey, here's a binder of stuff to be able to put it in? No. Nope. Right? So if you're hoping that I'm going to come and give you a free binder or a free jump drive that says, here you go, try these things, not going to happen. Okay? But do I think the ideas that Brent and I have, tried are worth exploring? Absolutely.
I think it's about opening that conversation, right? Just like trying to dig into it, right? Because it is so embedded. Traditional grades are like, it's a painful conversation, and people shut down when you start saying, hey, let's adjust grades, or let's adjust your conversation, right?
Well, that's the thing, right? Yeah, I mean, and let's get to our colleagues, right? Mm-hmm. In departments, people don't like, talking about grading. It's sort of like, well, we're going to do this 4-point grading system or standards-based grading, but at the end of the day, you do what you think is right. Mm-hmm. And so the teacher's left up to decide things that, really they think are trying to help students. And, I know a lot of us are probably past like docking kids for grades for like, things like not bringing a pencil or not bringing their library card to school, right? We're well past that, but there are some things, if you do take a look at what you're doing, there might be some blind spots you may be missing in terms of what, practices you're doing that may, in reality, keep that student from advancing to the next class or keep that student from an opportunity that they could have, when we're supposed to be the ones that help them stay in the game and help them stay engaged. So really, I agree with Brent. It is about having a conversation and having a connection with your struggling students mostly. And I feel like with equitable grading, a lot of my students who are struggling or were struggling feel like that they're less stressed with some of the practices that Mr. Feldman, that and that's where I got inspired by reading Mr. Feldman's book, Grading for Equity, that using some of those things and trying those out really help reconnect those students and de-stress them as well.
Yeah, for sure. And that stress issue these days is huge, right? Like there's so much, like it feels to me like there's more stress than has ever been, like all these expectations of people and maybe coming out of online learning or maybe still being in that, right? And then like, how am I supposed to hold up and live up to these artificial expectations, I guess, right?
Totally, yeah. And well, or layers of expectations in a way, right? Because you have like, students that are coming out of distance learning, like with my students, they had 1 or 2 years of middle school coming out of distance learning where they weren't expected to do as much. It's like if you signed on to Zoom, you have an A, right? More or less, right? Yeah. If you say a couple of neat things in the chat, you're engaged, okay, great, you pass. But then when you come into high school, it's like jumping out of, we're still in a pandemic. Sure. We're wearing masks at school, and it's like, how do you, kids are like really faced with this new thing for them where, wow, now not only do I have to go to my classes in person, but I have to also like be ready to participate when the teacher calls on me, and I have to be ready to respond. You know, and for some kids, they're still getting used to all that, and at the same time with my students, they're getting used to, you know, we have a 7-period day in the school I teach. There's like 6 other teachers that are, some of them are going back to what they did before COVID, unfortunately. So that's really the thing that many of us are facing right now. So I think these, you know, things that I've tried really have gotten me to re-examine what's most essential. What are some things that I can really do to help my struggling students especially stay engaged? So, you know, and it sounds like Brant is doing similar things.
Trying to. It's not always perfect for sure, but it's fun, it's engaging. My students are responding to it, and that's what I wanted to ask you too, is like, how are your students reacting? Are they okay with it? Are they?
Most that I have surveyed have commented, and informally, and in my surveys too, like, you know, my end of semester and periodic surveys, they have commented about how this, you know, the systems I've tried. Like, for example, I do not count classwork or homework in their final grade. You know, and so a lot of the things that they comment on are, you know, basically that it helps de-stress them, but also that they can use that as evidence to help them, you know, explain to me why they got a question wrong in the assessment, but they really knew it and they did this homework that shows this. Right? We don't know what kind of support students are getting at home, you know, in terms of homework. And let's face it, a lot of students, in order to just keep their grade up, they do a lot of copying of homework. So, you know, let's just eliminate that and not have that be a part of their overall grade, because it's not really showing what an accurate grade is. And a lot of my students too don't really understand how grades are calculated, no matter what you say on your syllabus.
Yeah, for sure.
So to simplify it for them makes it, you know, a lot more clear for them, makes it a lot more easy, you know, for them to understand. And then they have a potential, again, with me, to be able to revise and redeem their work, which they can, you know, if they're not meeting the standard, we can have a conversation why that is, and then they can move forward to either meet or exceed the standard. They have more opportunity.
Obviously, I want to keep this conversation going, and we're going to, but I think we're going to let people come to your session and check it out, and I guess my session too, because we're kind of talking similar things. But where can people find you for your session? Okay,
I will be at Catalina. That's on the other side of Smoke Tree, across from the pool, on Saturday morning at 10:05. I will be there. Also on Zoom for the folks at home.
Okay, so Catalina is a streaming room?
It is a streaming room, yes. So there will be a Zoom link there. I, even though I'm supposed to, you know, talk to face, hopefully I will have some people to be able to monitor in the chat as well.
Awesome.
So, love to see you.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you.